Hey guys, what's going on? Banana156 here with another video. Remember to like, dislike, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I do read all comments, so make sure to leave them, and you'll know I will have read it because I will leave a heart by your comment. But yeah, so in this video I want to talk about Ben Shapiro. This is an extension of the right-wing political figures series that I'm doing. And I thought since we started with Michael Knowles, we can move on to Ben Shapiro next. And there will be another Michael Knowles video in the future because I want to go more in depth on his positions and how he is essentially a Nazi. But first, let's talk about Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben Shapiro I don't think is as bad as Michael Knowles, but he's still very bad. Now, I want to talk about why he's very bad and why his rhetoric is so what's the word? So effective, that's the word. So Ben Shapiro, you know what he sounds like, and you know that he talks very fast and can sound very smart, even though he's not. All of his logic is subpar at best, and is really, all of his positions are just really dumb and stupid. Like, so, I know this video is old, but I forgot the context of it. But he was asked a question about climate change, and he said, well, suppose over the next 100 years sea levels rise by 5 or 10 feet. Wouldn't the people on the coast just sell their house and move to another house? Now, let's talk about the logic here. So, Ben Shapiro is saying that people on the coast whose houses are now flooded because the sea levels rose 5 to 10 feet would just sell their house and move somewhere else, because that's how it works. Who's going to buy a house underwater? Is it going to be SpongeBob, Ben? No, it's not. No one's buying that house. No one's selling that house. Those houses are being flooded and will be destroyed by the water, and no one's going to buy that house, and they won't have any money. All of their possessions will be destroyed, unless they got out. But you know what I'm saying? That logic is terrible. So now I want to go into Ben Shapiro. I was watching a thing about his positions on gay marriage and stuff like that, and he said that I've always known that gay marriage is wrong, and I wanted to find out why. That is improper logic. Logic is supposed to be starting out with a question, like, is gay marriage good or bad? Then you use evidence, you research it, and then you come to a conclusion if it is good or bad. You don't start out with gay marriage is bad, why? You don't start out with that. You ask the question, is it good or bad? And then you find the evidence and research it and find things that support your claim, or support whatever the best will support either or, and whichever has the most substantial evidence and the best evidence, or not evidence, but has the best, that's the right choice. So Ben Shapiro was working backwards on logic, which doesn't work. So there's another thing. And he also, what else is it gonna? So, sorry guys, I'm back. Someone just came in my room and I had to talk to them. But okay, so let's get back into it. So the next thing I want to talk about was his video debunking systemic racism. Now, I haven't watched the video in a while, but I remember the main key points, and I remember the video that he was reacting to. So the video was talking about a white kid and a black kid. They're both friends, but they both go to different schools and live in different neighborhoods. And their schools are, the black kid's school is supremely worse, or is worsely funded than the white kid's school because of property taxes. Now, Ben Shapiro's response to this was charter schools, which, if you know anything about charter schools, you know that they produce worse outcomes than public schools, and are all why do they produce worse outcomes? They produce worse outcomes because they have they don't have the same requirements that public schools have. So therefore they're going to be worse, and there's always going to be like that one charter school which was good, and that they will always point to. No, and the rest of them are bad and don't work. But so yeah. First of all, that point was bad, and besides, the video isn't meant to just point out like one kid having a problem. The whole community has that problem. The whole community has a school that's underfunded is underfunded. So is every kid just going to move to a charter school? No. Then will that school just rot and die? No, it doesn't work that way. You have to find a way to fund the schools equally. You have to find the way to fund the schools equally so everyone gets a good education. That's the point of pointing out systemic racism. So, next, the video talks about how generational wealth gap, and how white people if you start with money, you'll probably end up with money. And now Ben Shapiro's retort to this was that most people do not make their money from wills or don't inherit their money. That's not what the video is pointing out. If you have a rich parent, you're going to get better education. You're going to get better opportunities and have just better everything. So then you're going to have more opportunities to go into a field that produces more money. And therefore, you will make more money most of the time. Unless you're like an absolute fail son, like Charlie Kirk. But Charlie Kirk has daddy's money anyway, so he's fine. And the generational wealth gap between black and white people is huge. I was reading I'll leave this in the description below, but there was a research study by Pew, I think, and they were talking about the economic mobility, and I forgot exactly what the numbers were, but I think black people mainly occupy the 2 bottom quintiles. And if you're black in the middle class, you're more likely to move down than move up, and if you're in the lower class, you're more likely to stay there. So there's stickiness on the rungs of the economic ladder, meaning that it is very hard to move up, but easy to move down, especially for minorities, because they start out with less money, so they get a worse education. They get worse education, less opportunities, less of everything, or worse of everything. So then they have less opportunities in the future and a worse education, so it's harder for them to get into colleges, and therefore they get less huge money-making opportunities for careers after college. So that means that they also don't have a substantial amount of money, which means that their kids will also have less than the white kids. And then, the cycle continues because in our current economic system, the rungs of the economic ladder are very sticky, and you will most likely stay where you are because most good sociologists will be able to predict how much money you will make just based off of your parents' income and where you live. That shows you enough of what's broken about our system. Where you are is basically where you're going to be. And now, I don't remember the last part of the video. I don't remember the last part of the video or Ben Shapiro's video, but I think that shows Ben Shapiro's backwards logic and is just why he shouldn't be trusted about anything, and him being a pseudo-intellectual. Now, you gotta watch out for Ben Shapiro and people like Ben Shapiro, because Ben Shapiro is very good at sounding smart. He is very good at sounding like he knows what he's saying, and he doesn't. Like, I watched a debate when he was debating a college student, and this college student was advocating for market socialism, and Ben Shapiro said, if it has markets, it's capitalist. No, it doesn't. The main component of capitalism is private property, and private owns the means of production. That means like Jeff Bezos owns all of Amazon, or a board of directors owns all of a company. And private property meaning like there's a house, like houses you pay for and stuff. Socialism is when there's collective owns of the means of production, and the abolition of private property or the decommodification of private property. There's nothing about markets in there. That's why market socialism is good and I think the next step for the Western world in transitioning into full-on socialism, because market socialism is a easy transition point and a great place to go. But there's no component. If it has markets, it is not capitalism, or it can be capitalism, but it's not guaranteed to be. And that is just another example of Ben Shapiro not knowing what he's talking about. And Ben Shapiro never knows, or he might know a little bit of what he's talking about, but he is just a pseudo-intellectual and not very smart. Now, and I think he is also a bigot, because if you remember, he made a few tweets about Arabs, calling them sewage dwellers, and all they do is build bombs. Like, that is extremely racist, and I'm not even gonna, there's no analysis needed for that, it's just racist. And also, when he was like 17, he wrote a paper on how you need to move the Arabs out of Israel. And that's just extremely racist, and just like, I'm not even gonna touch on it, because if he was a Jew in World War II, he'd understand. Well, he is a Jew. If he lived in World War II, he would understand why you can't do that. So he's obviously a racist. His logic is backwards. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's a pseudo intellectual. My next point is, I watched one of his lectures, and he was talking about how he went to Harvard and how he didn't listen to a word that they said. Like, that's just unacceptable. You're going to one of the best schools in the country, and you're not listening to what they say. Like, they obviously know stuff. They're one of the best countries. They're one of the best universities in the country. So you gotta listen. You gotta take knowledge wherever you can find it. And it reminds me of one saying where a fool learns from no one, and a wise man learns from a fool. You can learn from everywhere, and don't let Ben Shapiro saying that he didn't learn a thing from Harvard discourage you from schooling, because going to school is great and you can learn a ton of stuff from it. Even if our education system isn't the best right now, going to college is a great thing to do. And trying to soak up as much knowledge as possible. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about Ben Shapiro because I just talked about Michael Knowles, and I thought it would be good to keep those two together. There will be another Michael Knowles video in the future, but yeah, in the conclusion, Ben Shapiro doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. His logic is backwards. He's just a pseudo-intellectual who is just retooling right-wing talking points and trying to make them sound smart. That's all he does. Him and Jordan Peterson serve a similar role. Jordan Peterson appeals more to incels, though. But yeah, so Ben Shapiro is a pseudo-intellectual, and thank you for watching the video. I enjoyed making this one. I enjoy talking about Ben Shapiro because I absolutely hate him, and I like watching his videos and just arguing, and not arguing, but just thinking about how wrong he is. And now I'm making videos on this stuff, so it's nice to make a video on him because I've always hated him, and yeah. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, dislike, comment, do all that stuff. I do read all comments, so make sure to leave one. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and thank you so much for all the support.